meeting, and I'd like to call for approval of the final agenda. John?
I'll do, yeah.
I have a second.
Second.
Steve, thank you very much. All approved?
Approve?
Aye.
Okay.
4-0.
Serena isn't logged on, but I talked to her earlier and she will be. So she's
Okay.
probably just setting up her computer, but we'll just begin.
Okay. So that was 4-0.
So moving on for public comment, if there are anyone who would like to, there's Serena. Hi,
Here I
Serena.
am.
Does anyone like to make any statement? Now's the time to do it. So John, if you want to have something to say. John Feld.
You're muted.
Yeah. The HOL is redoing the contractor's handbook, the handyman's handbook, which is now called the contractor's guide. And we're going to put it on the website. And as the website theoretically belongs to PAC, we want to ask your permission to do something, which is to make a residents only area with a password, each person having a password, so that we can put the contractor's guide behind the password so it's not available to the general public. And also using that same access will be things like the directory and other things that we want only to be internal.
John, may I just ask one question? Can you run it past a lawyer and have a disclaimer so that there's no responsibility for HOL or the PAC board?
We've done that
Okay, thank you.
through a wonderful lawyer in our park called Marshall Krause. And it's, I mean, that's about it. I can go into more detail if you want, but basically we want this to be something for residents only. And the only way we can be sure that that's going to happen, we can't be sure, but the only way we can hope that this happens is that it's residents only and it's accessible only to residents through a password associated with their email address.
Okay. Well, since we can't really discuss it because it's not agendized, let's put that on the agenda for next month.
Perfect.
I actually asked you to do that already.
I'm saying that in this
Okay.
public meeting. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Someone else? Anyone else like to make a comment? Ellen?
Yes, it's kind of a shame we just got the minutes because I'm just starting to read them and I see errors right at the top, and I guess Carol Joy will probably catch that. I mentioned last month about the bird feeders, and I wonder will there be any response? I mean, there's no response about it. I'm curious about the rules and regs and regarding bird feeders. Also, water as an issue, which is, kind of one of my pet things. There's a lot of water wasted. Matt's not on the call, huh?
Nope.
Okay.
Matt is ill. He's not going to be here.
Oh, okay. Well, there's as I walk the park, there's places that have irrigation systems that are faulty. I have spoken to several people and they have said they don't know how to work them and they would love the park to have a look at them. And also, maybe we're going in a drought. We're in a drought and maybe there'll be water restrictions, but I think people don't have that sense of like, oh yeah, I leave the faucet running. And then also like the water that I hear at night, I hear water running constantly. And Matt has said that we're over, that we have a huge water bill because we're way over our allotment because there's a lot of infrastructure problems. So there's the water issue, the laundromat. there's one functioning washer of the three. One of them was reported to Matt on February 5th, and it still hasn't been touched. And as a user, it's inconvenient. And then the second one now is, it's just filthy. It's somebody, and I think I know who it is. A gentleman that doesn't know how to do wash, but he puts really filthy, and it's just covered in grime and stuff. And I don't know how often the fellas go in there to clean it, but the trash is usually really full. So they don't really, I don't know if there's their responsibility to clean. I don't know how people get washing machines so dirty, but it's a drag. So there's the washers in the laundromat. And then my last concern is a lot of strangers in the park. There's more and more people driving up and down, and they call out, "Oh, how much are rents here?" And then with the freebie day coming up, it's not advertised that it's only for, and I did email you, John. It's not advertised as for people in the community, in our community. And what?
Yeah, that's your allotted time. Thank you. Irma, you wanted to have something?
Yes, it's unfortunate Matt is not here, but it has come to our attention that there are several residents who cannot understand the robocalls and don't listen to them or pay attention to them. And I'm wondering if part of that might be the reason for that is that they are computerized and they don't sound like a regular speaking voice. And I'm wondering if we could either upgrade the robocalls or use the one that we have, but have a person speaking. And I'm wondering, I mean, it might be a nice way for Matt at least to make a connection with people if he could read them out instead of sending it to a machine to read them. If not, then could we just get a different service where they're more understandable? Thank you.
We'll pass that on to Matt. Thank you. Someone else? Peggy.
Anila,
Okay, well, I just real fast, there on Sunday, and I think a couple other people know about it, there was a pickup truck, a silver one, just leaking gasoline all over the ground. And I called the management's office and left a message. And about 20 minutes later, I noticed that there was a big fire truck there cleaning up the mess. And I'm just hoping that Matt and management will make sure that this type of thing doesn't happen again, because it seemed rather dangerous to me. I just thought everybody should be aware of it. And that's all for that.
Where was this, Peggy?
Oh, right across from like Jim Horace's house, approximately in the parking lot. And
Got
it's a pickup truck that has two giant vats, big barrels. I don't know what's in them. I have no idea, but I'm not even sure if it's somebody who's actually lives here or what.
Still there.
And
Good.
still there, yeah, still there.
It hasn't moved. It's always there.
Peggy,
It
what
does
did you
move.
say? What did
It
you say
does.
was leaking?
Gasoline.
Gasoline, thank you. And I'm sorry, I have one other question. Ellen, what's your last name?
Oh, sorry, it's Ellen Jane Schultz, SCHULZ.
Thank you.
Thank-
I know I've asked you that before, I'm sorry.
All right.
Anila?
I find that I'm really curious about what Ellen got cut off saying. So can I give my 1.75 to Ellen so she can finish what she was saying?
I have no objection.
Thank you. Yeah, the stranger danger, whatever, the freebie thing, last time we did it, I was very uncomfortable with many out of park residents wandering around, whole families. They didn't have masks on in many cases. I know that at least Ursula had something stolen from her. It was a special table she had that somebody took off with. I'm it was not advertised in the Echo, and I think it's probably too late because I think people tell their housekeepers, "Oh, come, there's free stuff," and I'd hate to see the giving bench, which is adorable, that new sign, Breezeway Boutique, or it's like, that's so cute. But I would hate to see that become a place where people are just strolling through. I don't feel good about it. I mean, I'm sorry to be paranoid, if that's the term, but I think it's naive to think that all these people driving through and, people tell their housekeepers and their handymen, and then those people tell their friends, and pretty soon there's just a lot of strangers walking through, and especially on a day like that, and checking out people's carports and et cetera. So thank you, Anila. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Anyone else? Okay, so let's move on to the consent calendar. And I'd like to ask for approval of the February 2nd PAC board meeting.
Excuse me,
Joy.
I'm sorry, but
Minutes.
I want to back up a little bit. Today we got the final minutes of the January 5th meeting and the draft minutes of the February 2nd meeting. I should have said this when we were approving this agenda, but when I looked at these, and this was just before the meeting, unfortunately, the minutes for the January 5 meeting that say final on them, there was a misunderstanding, I think, and I really want this to be corrected because it's substantive in terms of the city, and it's a $60,000 bill, so it means something. And that is on page 5, under 2x2 meetings, it says $60,000 vegetation reimbursement dash project won't be happening. That's not what we wanted it to say. We wanted to say $60,000 vegetation project reimbursement won't be happening. The project's done. The reimbursement won't be happening. So those two words got dyslexed. And so if you could make that change, Susan, and then send us a true finalized version of the January 5th, that would be great. Now, we already approved those as corrected, so we don't need a motion. It's just that it didn't actually get done the right way. Okay, so that's that. Then in terms of approving the minutes of the February 2nd meeting, which is on the agenda, I haven't even read them yet. I just got them at like 10 to 6. And so I mean, if the PAC board members haven't read them, I don't think anyone else has either, probably. So I think we should put off that item until next month.
Any objection?
No, I move we put that item off until next month.
Okay, well,
I second it.
can I
Okay.
mention a glaring error right in the beginning of it
No,
with the
it's
public
no,
comment? Okay,
no.
fine.
We're not going to discuss it. We're going to talk about it next month.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you, Carol Joy. So let's move on to reports.
Wait, we have a motion and a second to
Oh.
put it off till next month.
All those in favor, any discussion?
Okay.
Any
No
more?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And
Now,
Susan,
we
that's
can move on.
5-0 because Serena's here now.
Okay, Matt Greenberg for maintenance and capital projects. I have a list that he sent me, which I'll read. He's not feeling well, but he doesn't think that it's any more debilitating than just the day. And he's actually supposed to be in the park tomorrow, and he told me that he probably will be. So he'll be fine. So his report is that over the month, there was another water fracture and repair done at 33 Marin Valley Drive. That the new license plate reader will be installed tomorrow, and there also will be a new dome camera as well. Thirdly, the city won't approve ACH online payment for rent and utilities. I have one other option for a third party, but they will charge MVMCC. And evidently this was discussed at the 2x2 meeting, and Carol Joy will probably give us a little bit more information about that later on. The next item is there's been multiple hillside sites that have been studied for repair by Miller Engineering, and this work has been approved by Chris Blunk, so that work will go forward. And Chris Blunk has given approval, or has been given approval from the council to apply for PG&E upgrade program, and has sent in the application. He sent me a copy of it, and we just now have to wait to see whether we're accepted, and then take a look at the contract and the various details. So any questions about that?
There was one detail about the ACH. It's very complicated for the city to do this because of confidentiality reasons. And they asked if Matt could see if Helsing Group could manage it or a third party. So he's going to investigate other options. So that might still be on the table for him to investigate.
Right. Good. Thank you, Serena.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. So Steve, MVMCC Finance Committee.
No, the treasurer.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer report.
First, I'll give the treasurer's report. Yeah, the PAC bank account balance at the end of January is $5,468. Of that, the humanitarian fund is $2,087. MVest account is $466, and the PAC petty cash is $2,915. Of the PAC board annual budget, which is different from the bank account, the annual budget is $4,000, and as of the end of January, we have spent $3,306. Now for the Finance Committee report, which is basically a discussion about the DSCR. The management company shows a DSCR of 1.73 for the month year-to-date through the end of January. My calculations show it at 2.16. And I wanted to say that my calculations for the prior month were in error. I calculated that the DSCR through the end of December was 1.99. I found a mistake, and it was actually 2.07. So we're good for the last couple of months. Jay and I have been working on a presentation to give to Chris Blunk about a detailed consideration of the DSCR. It's a 5-page document that I put together, and we'll see when we get an opportunity to do that, because we're satisfied with the presentation and the arguments. So it's just waiting to be able to present it to him.
In that regard, Steve, I've sent a email to Chris asking him to arrange a Zoom meeting, first with you and I, and then later with the finance manager from the city, so that everybody will be on board. Because obviously this is going to be a point of contention when we approve the budget for the coming year. So I want to get that meeting together before we actually take the final budget to the city. And we'll hear more about that later from the 2x2, because I understand this was discussed at the meeting today. Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Okay, so moving on to the city of Novato. As I already mentioned, we're going to have a contact with Chris to go over the DSR. And he has sent me copies of the application that has been made for the infrastructure work that is possible with them putting in new gas and electric lines. So we'll have to wait until the application is given to us so we can look at the details. And I had a conversation with one of the residents who is very much concerned with the effect that smart meters may have on people inside the park. And she is going to prepare some background information, and perhaps once we get the application from PG&E, if we're accepted, we can set up a committee to look at the effect of smart meters and 5G transmission in cell towers, and also whether it would be possible for us to put in a fiber network at the same time, so we can hardwire the houses for internet. So that's all I have for the city. Any questions? Okay, so let's move on to the
John Feld,
John Feld. Sorry, John.
unmute.
John, you're muted.
The only way that we can get fiber optics in is when we have the infrastructure done, because it all has to be underground, and we need a pipe specifically for the fiber optic cables.
Correct. When they were putting in the smart train, they ran a fiber cable down the smart train, so it's within 100 yards of the MVMCC property. So I'm not giving up on the possibility for that.
It still has to go underground, and it'll have to go underground through the TPL land.
Yeah, correct. And when they dig up the streets, that would be a wonderful opportunity to put that pipe in.
I've spoken to Sonic, who owns that fiber optic cable, and they say they have no plans for extending it to this side of the railway lines in the foreseeable future, was what they said.
That was 2 years ago.
That was a year and a half ago, yes.
Okay.
Well, this is unforeseen.
What's that, John?
This is part of the future that's unforeseen.
This is all potential.
Yeah, so it's all in the future, and we'll see what happens with the PG&E thing. It's a moot point right now.
Well, it's not a given that we can get that fiber optic, is all I'm trying to say.
No, yeah, we know. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, 2x2, Carol Joy Harris and
No.
Serena.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I can give an update,
Serena.
and Carol Joy can jump in if I miss anything, because there was a lot covered yesterday.
Yeah,
Well,
go
first
ahead.
on our minds, we wanted to know who had replaced Veronica Nebb. And we were advised that Walter Pistola company that they've been using for many years merged with a company up in Grass Valley who specializes in municipal law, and it's a large firm. And Chris is going to check to see if there's someone within that group who specializes or has knowledge of mobile homes. He doesn't know, but the chances are, given all the mobile homes that are parks that are situated around California and up north at one of their attorneys might know something about mobile home law. Utility master plan, the first draft is almost ready. It's a 126-page document, and he's hoping that we will have the first draft in March. He said we thought it would be the end of last year, then January, then February. So he, acknowledges that it has taken some time. While we were talking on our 2x2, Chris pushed the button for the email to PG&E. So, and we got a copy of it. So that was great. We were very excited to see that application had finally gone. Sewer pump station down by the turnaround, work is scheduled to begin March 15th, 17th, around there. Notices will be sent to the residents regarding the noise and access restrictions near that turnaround. And they're working very closely with the residents in the area. I mean, they've been quite sensitive because some people have certain sensitivities around it. So I know they're taking care. They do care about the residents. With regard to their administrative and capital staff time charges, we were hoping to get that document, an update for fiscal year 2021. Kate's still waiting to hear from the finance department, and that will include Veronica Nebb's last bill. But after that, she said the finance charges should be a lot lower because they're separating out capital charges from admin charges.
Mhm.
HCA payments, Jay already mentioned. He's going to investigate a third party, or maybe Helsing can manage it. And it really did sound like Chris Blunt felt the city should be a little bit more modernized in being able to handle these kinds of electronic payments, but it's a very complex situation for them. May 2021 budget meeting. The city meetings have all been via Zoom. Normally they would be here. But Chris is thinking about requesting a separate budget meeting just to discuss Marin Valley Mobile Country Club's budget. He'll get back to us on that. And he did say that he wants to set up a meeting with Steve and now Jay to discuss that debt service ratio and come to some agreement, because that's important when it comes to finalizing the budget. Hello Housing, they are not involved in the program anymore. There was some confusion on their behalf about whether they were dropping it altogether or just a piece of it. So Kate is going to investigate that further. One thing that we did not discuss when we discussed this last month, we had put a proposal forward to actually increase the threshold for the assets, but we actually needed to also increase the threshold for income, because there's two parts to this for people to qualify. And one of them is a higher income allowance and a higher asset allowance. And so we might need to put that onto the agenda for next month. Do you agree, Carol Joy?
Yes, we at our January meeting, we passed, the PAC board passed what we thought was everything that we needed to pass with regard to the Hello Housing program change that was proposed. And it was the wording that they'd given us, but evidently there was a second part to it. So, and we were supposed to pass that before the city council passed both parts. So Chris Blunk's target for the city council passing their part of it is at their second March meeting, which is March
23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
And if that is true, then we could go back and sort of retroactively pass the second part of it that we need to pass. So he didn't think it was a big, it was going to stop the whole forward momentum of that change.
Right. I understand that Nevada Fire came and did a fire abatement sort of research survey in the park, and Matt and probably John got a list of things that were on that list. We didn't go into too much detail on that. Matt's budget for trees and everything, he said, is really a lot. It seems to cost like $4,000 to $5,000 a tree these days. So Matt's going to have to increase his line item for tree maintenance. What else? Oh, rules and regulations. We've been working, Carol Joy and I have been working diligently on that. It's almost finished. We have to finalize the process with the city. We would like a mobile home attorney to take a look at it, and they're going to find out if they have one now available to them. And then there's the 30-day review process for the community, and then it's a 6-month waiting period, and then it becomes formalized, and everybody will get a copy and sign that they've received it and sign that they agree. And even if they sign they don't agree, it is in fact in force. So that's coming, but it is a process. Did I miss anything, Carol Joy?
No, I just want to stress the fact that everyone in the community will have an opportunity to speak to all the issues that they want to address within the rules and regulations. So we're just in that first, here's a draft. Okay, let's everybody talk about it. And you know, it's nothing that everybody is ever going to be happy with every single thing in it, but we need to have some rules and regulations that are standardized, everybody understands, they're enforced, and we go forward.
And up to date.
Exactly.
So I had put in a request to speak.
No, hold on for 1 second, Dave.
Mhm.
On the board, anyone have any questions for the 2x2 committee? John?
Yeah, I just have one small point of clarification. The wildfire mitigation specialist hasn't come through the park yet. It's looking like that most likely will be in April, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later in the meeting.
No, actually, John, I think what Serena was talking about is the wildfire mitigation specialist who did come, who looked at around the clubhouse. And I know you know about that.
Oh, around the clubhouse, yes.
Sorry, I
Right.
should have mentioned it was the clubhouse.
Not the one for the whole park.
Yeah,
Okay, yes.
because they want to make sure that management is in compliance with their own rules if they expect the community to be in compliance. Yes, thank you, Carol Joy, for clarifying that.
Yeah, I'll get something clarified. I thought in the previous meetings, we talked about Hello Housing dropping out and them coming up with another party that would handle it. Is it your understanding that Hello Housing is going to go forward with their program?
No. It's what your understanding was. Hello Housing is not going to go forward with the program, but the intent on the part of the city is to find another administrator for the program, not to do away with the program. But Hello Housing has said we're out. So it's just a question of the people in the park who, the few participants in the park who are taking advantage of it will still be able to do that. It's just a question of who's going to administer it. And then what the new proposals are the intent of those is to make it available to more people in the park to participate.
I got it. Okay, thank you. Dave, do you have something, a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on one point. Prior to the February 2nd meeting, there was a petition signed by about 20 or so residents, about 90% of the people contacted, expressing an interest in having adjusting the Part 8 rules specifically. And I know Carol Joy and Serena, I sent you an email saying I'd be happy to set up a meeting or any sort of a Zoom session between you and the people that have expressed concern in that petition. But it sounds like what you're saying is that they'll just have their turn in line with everyone else in the park after you put out the proposed rules.
I think that's a correct assessment. It is one of, I don't know, 50 issues, 100 issues. There are so many issues. That's just one. So, yeah. There are so many cans of worms. There will be worms everywhere.
Dave, I also want to say one of the things that we did discuss was that there's HUD laws, HCD laws, city laws, regulations, and then our own desires. And so it's understanding some of the things that we want are just not acceptable because they are allowable by these other groups that have precedence
or prohibited by
law.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I was suggesting, or, we were suggesting to have some sort of a meeting, because I hear what you're saying. And I think some of these things in this particular case, it may not be true for some of the other 50 issues you're dealing with, but in this particular case, as Serena points out, there's a level of nuance here that involves probably a little more thought and time to resolve than maybe the normal 30-day process is designed to support, which was why we had, flagged them earlier.
And, I respect your desire to have this conversation, and there will be an opportunity to do that. We just have to find the right place for it because we haven't finished the first process.
Yeah. So I guess the only point I
did discuss amongst us how can we do this so that it is inclusive.
Yes. And my only point, I guess, is that there was a petition. This is an issue that probably takes a little more time, I'm guessing, than some of the other issues dealing with vegetation, siding, or other things that maybe you have to deal with. So at any rate, I wanted to just point that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I don't want another month to go by with that error on the minutes. I just want to mention it. That was not Dave and me that brought the petition. It was Inga. And so I just want to clarify that I wasn't involved in the petition. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, so let's move on to project planning. Myself and John Hanson. I don't have anything, John. Do you have anything?
No, nothing to add this month.
Okay. MVES, Firewise Committee, John Hanson.
Okay, well, MVES, of course, meets every Monday evening, and many of the people I see on the screen here in front of me are there, but many are not. So you're welcome to join us if you wish to join us on Monday evening. Be sure and get a hold of me or one of the other members of the MVES committee, and we'll be sure and get a Zoom invite out to you for our Monday evening meetings. What we generally discuss, it's a very similar agenda, but it's the thing is that things by and large are moving along fairly quickly. We have certain issues that we deal with, and so our agenda is similar one week to the next. First thing usually is we talk about the COVID pandemic, how we're doing in the park, any issues that we recognize, and any actions that we may need to address. And so far, things have been moving along very nicely, although very rapidly. And we always advertise the information on our agenda, on our minutes, and also on the website about how to get information regarding what's happening with the vaccination rollout and what's happening with the issues in general. We also cover park security. Kevin Mulvaney has been stellar at every week walking around the park in the hills around the park and nearby, looking for possible issues, seeing if there's homeless encampments that may cause a problem or not, and reporting them to the appropriate agency. And he's been, like I said, very good at doing that, finding campsites, reporting them, allowing the community services people then to take over from there. Let's see, in the Marin Valley Firewise, which I hope everybody knows that we are a Firewise community, one of the early ones in the county to become Firewise. This happened very soon after we had our fire in 2016, 2015, I think the fire was. Anyway, back, it's been long enough for me to forget exactly when it was. But yeah, so what we'd like to express from our previous meetings is that there will be wildfire safety evaluations by the Novato Fire District, and those are that's in addition to what's been done at the clubhouse, and these will be driving through the park. One of the firemen from the fire district, they'll drive through the park. They'll take pictures of every home, and they'll do a cursory assessment from the roadside. From that picture, they'll send a report to each resident with recommendations of what they might do and things that they should consider as fire hazards on their property. And then they will send invitations then to everybody to invite the fire district to come in and do a more thorough investigation of their yard, all through the front, sides, and the back. And we'll be sending out a lot more information about this as it comes around. We don't want anybody to be alarmed that this has anything to do with getting a ticket or a citation or something you have to do. These are recommendations, although these recommendations we will pretty strongly recommend those recommendations and encourage people to do what needs to be done to prevent wildfire damage in the park.
Excuse me, John, may
Yes,
I add
sure.
one thing there?
Sure.
We also want people to know that these will be entirely private.
Yes,
no one
they
else
will.
is going to know. So when John says we're going to be encouraging, he just means we, the fire district, no one else in the park will know what your report says. If you ask for a report for your property, it's to you. That's it.
That's right. That encouragement will be by educational webinars that we will put on as MVES for the community, and specifically for the community, and specifically for mobile home parks, which will be fairly unique from all the other information that you've seen. So what we need to do as a mobile home park and as neighbors and as community members in the park to prevent the park from being destroyed by a wildfire. So yeah, then there's webinars that by Fire Safe Marin that we advertise every month. We actually get credit on our Firewise program here in Marin Valley for doing this advertisement, along with the fact that it's also very, very useful information. These are very good webinars. The information is not only on our minutes, but it's also on the website as well. And then we have a program that we're putting together for, it looks like it's probably going to be something in the vicinity of monthly webinars put on by MVES for the community. These will be well advertised as they come around. The first one will be on the utility connections, and John Field will be leading this up. It would be somewhat based on the Echo article, the excellent Echo article that he put in for March. And the second one will be based on David Gray's write-up. He's writing up an article now for next month's Echo on laundry ventilation, laundry vent safety, and how to take care of that. In fact, just laundry dryer safety in general, but more specifically, the issues are around ventilation for the dryer. So, and how to keep those clean. Then the next one will be based on the wildfire mitigation specialist evaluations. And we're going to be advertising that and discussing that fairly much in detail then in the third webinar. And then the fourth one will then be involve the Novato response team. It's very much like a neighborhood, what is it, John?
Watch.
Yeah, this is like a neighborhood watch program, only it's they call it something different in Novato. And the police department wants to come and give a webinar specifically. This is to everybody on the on this Novato response team program, and to get us involved in that program of watching what's going on in the park. We all do a pretty good job of that, but this is going to formalize it, and so it can be a much better job. That pretty much covers what I have to report then about MFest. Serena?
Yeah, I
Thank
just
you, John.
wanted to add that Michelle Rivers, our neighbor up here in View Ridge, found a program that helps older adults over 65 get the vaccine and even get transportation to the place where they can get it from Whistle Stop Viva Lawn. And there's a flyer going out. John's been coordinating with her, but we're going to be distributing a flyer about this, and people were able to get an appointment within a couple of days and get their vaccine.
Thank you, Serena. I forgot to mention that on the COVID thing. I had it right there, forgot to say it. So thank you very much for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's very exciting because I know for older adults who are not on the computer and sitting for hours on the phone, it's just too much to get an appointment.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
And they get to speak with a live person, and it's arranged within a few days. It's fabulous.
There's also Just 1 Hour has also put out a similar appeal to people that hey, if you need a ride to get in to get your vaccine, that just get a hold of Just 1 Hour to do that. Marlene, I think Marlene is carrying that.
Just to clarify, Susan, when Serena says Michelle Rivers has been working with John, she meant John Feld, not John Hansen. Yeah. Just for the sake of the minutes there.
Yeah, and John's been coordinating a community effort to get those flyers in the mail.
Yeah.
Yes.
John has something.
Any other comments?
John.
From the board?
Yeah.
Any questions from residents?
I would just like to say that this flyer will be coming out on Thursday afternoon. We put out a request for help in distributing it, and we were overwhelmed with the response. Very good response. And it's for people only 65 and older at the present time.
Isn't it 75 and older?
No, it's 65.
No, it's now 65 and older. And
fabulous.
they've got to have some disability, either a physical disability, a mental disability, or they have no internet, or they have no access to a car. Any of those things will qualify them to get there, but they must be 65 or older. So far, we've had 2 people from the park sign up. And I know about Helen McLam got one. She called yesterday, thanks to Anila, and she got her appointment for Wednesday.
I'd like to just mention one thing, just a point of clarification. In reading the paper today, my understanding is that as of yesterday, March 1st, one of the criteria that entered was the 65 and older. So that began on March 1st, the eligibility for 65 and older. On March 15th, eligibility for people under 65, but with medical conditions that put them at higher risk. On March 15th, that group will also get added to the queue.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you, John.
Mhm.
John Feld, HOL.
Well, we've got the walkabout
Freebie day.
freebie day that's coming up. Other than that, there's really nothing specific to mention.
And the date of that is Saturday, March 20, Susan.
Yeah,
From 9 to 4.
And it's from 9 to 4, and there will be pizza and soft drinks for the whole park, whether you participated or not, in the breezeway, which will be take it home. You won't be able to eat in the breezeway, but you'll be able to take home pizza and soft drinks.
People should give their address.
At 3 p.m.
Jamie, ahead of time.
If you want to participate in the freebie thing, you have to give your name
And address.
and address to Janie
And Tara.
and Tara.
Or Tara. By Thursday.
By Thursday, Irma tells me.
Okay, any question about that, Serena?
Yeah, I do. I think the freebie day is a wonderful community event, but I hear Ellen Jane's concern about people coming into the park from outside. You know, what can be done about that? Because I noticed people were walking around without masks, and last time too, that did not live here. Is it meant to be just for the community, or is it really inclusive of everybody who wants to come from outside?
It was designed for the community, but people bring their families and friends. I don't know what to say. They should all be masked, because everybody walking around in the park should be masked. But
We should tell them to wear them.
and if anybody comes to your house, I suggest you say, go away and put on a mask and come back. And other than that, I don't have a solution to that.
We can't curtail our own projects because of other people.
Okay, thank you, John. Is there anyone from Marval available?
No.
Peggy Hill, ad hoc committee on yard maintenance.
Well, Matt has sent out letters, and more than 20 people received letters. And of course, the whole idea, it's the wildfire mitigation and fire safe communities, clean up yards so they're safer yards. And approximately 6 people did respond and asked for help, for the help that we've been offering for cleaning up yards. And we had a meeting, and there are about 3 gardeners who were possibly interested, and we thought, well, we'll start with one gardener. And I have contacted the one gardener, and I gave him a list of the requirements. It's $35 per hour per gardener working, that the work can begin, say, the last week and a half of March, and that HOL and PAC, we're responsible for kind of like doing a lot of the setup and talking to the gardener. That's not the job of Matt and management. So we do that part. And then after the gardener will probably work 2 to 3 hours. We're thinking at each home, and we've got to do all those arrangement of times. And and then of course an invoice needs to be submitted after for the gardener to get paid, and it would be to Stephen Plocker, and it would be an official invoice. And so I have been communicating with the first gardener we're going to work with, but after I gave them all the rules, I have not heard back from them. So I'm worried I've scared them off. But if I don't hear from them email wise tomorrow, I'll actually call them on the phone and talk to them. So we're actually getting started, but we're starting slow. We're not doing it fast because we know that there'll probably be a couple of problems. We want to work it out before we expand the program. And if I've forgotten something that Carol Joy could mention it, and Janie's kind of back with us now and she's helping out.
Could I just mention one thing, and that is that the reason we decided to not start until late in March is if we start too early, then, and you go take down the grass in somebody's front yard and or weeds, then, you know, a month later it's rained in March, hopefully. And then they grow again. So we thought we'd start kind of toward the end of whatever rainy season we have or have not had. And so that's the reason for the timing.
Yeah, and hopefully this, if this works out, that it'll continue on through the spring and even the summer months, and it just continue on, maybe even until next and through the whole entire year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and just slowly get to work and see what happens. Any thoughts from anybody?
John?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, just in case there's some heavy materials that need to be removed, some, trees or, large bushes or something, that Fire Safe Marin will be doing a chipper program again this year. And, when I find out what that schedule is going to be, then maybe we could coordinate some of that material. That saves actually a lot of money by not having to haul it away and just having the chipper come right on site to chip it up and remove it.
Would the gardener be able to find a place to leave the materials?
Yes.
Need chip, so I could maybe email you and you can kind of tell me where and all of that.
That's right.
Okay.
We can coordinate that.
That might help.
Serena, you have your hand up?
No, I was just clapping. I thank you.
Oh, you're
Peggy.
clapping. Oh, okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you, John. Thank you, Peggy Hill. Moving on to old business. Number one, the possibility of updating the space rent billing payment system. Matt's not here, and I think this was discussed in the 2x2, and he is looking for a third party to manage this, right?
Correct.
So there's we'll have to wait until next month to find out if he's found something out.
Yeah, he was going to see if housing could manage it, but I'm not sure if he's had a chance. This conversation just happened yesterday afternoon.
Right. Okay, moving on to the second one. The possibility of selling advertising on the marinvalley.net, John Feld. Is there any further update on that?
You're muted, John.
No update.
Okay.
Okay.
I've tried to get prices and I haven't got anything meaningful yet.
Okay, thank you, John. We'll keep it on the agenda. We'll talk to you next month about it. Under new business, John Hanson discussing the possibility to vote for moving MVEST grant money to the humanitarian fund. Can you give us a brief
Sure.
understanding of what this entails and how much is involved? And
Okay, yeah, and where it came from and everything. And I mentioned before we became a Firewise community back in 2016, and also we applied for a grant from the National Wildfire Prevention Association, or NFPA, and we received a grant of $500. And it turned out that We didn't need to spend it. We did spend a little bit of money. It was a $500 grant we have left after all that time. It's been there about 5 years now. Haven't used it. So I think, I've always thought, well, gee, let's leave it there just in case we do, but we didn't. So now I'm saying we need it someplace else. And I think that would be appropriate to add that remaining money, which is $477 to the humanitarian fund.
John, was there any strings on that when they gave the funds to you in terms of?
The only strings on the grant money was that no, there was nothing about what we could spend it on or anything. It was just a flat out grant. So we could spend it any way we want. But when we did, we got a check, and MVest does not have an account. So it was put into the PAC account, and that's why it's listed under the PAC finances. So I'm not even sure if it needs to be voted on. MVest is a committee, under a standing committee under PAC. The money is in a PAC account. And so I'm just proposing that we do whatever we need to transfer that to the humanitarian fund.
Point of clarification, John.
Yes.
When you say humanitarian fund, you're not talking about the rent deferral humanitarian fund. You're talking about the yard maintenance humanitarian fund.
That's right.
It's more MVest related because it's about
Exactly.
wildfire mitigation. Okay, yep. Just wanting to let everybody know that.
Steve?
I think we discussed this at the MVest meeting, right? And everybody agreed.
Yes.
Yes. So that the MVest is technically a PAC meeting because there's a preponderance of well, the three of the people on the MVest standing committee are PAC board members. So that being said, maybe yeah, I agree, John. Maybe we don't need to go into it here. So maybe it's just a question of letting the PAC board as such know that that is our intent.
That's right. The only reason we didn't do this, complete the negotiation or execute the transfer in the MVest meeting is that with that amount of money, we thought it would be better to bring this up to a larger audience at the in the PAC.
Right.
Can ask a question? The humanitarian fund sounds very similar to the yard maintenance that Peggy was just talking about.
That is what it is.
That's
what it is.
It's the same. Okay.
Yes.
Funding that.
It's confusing because if we call it the humanitarian fund, people might think it's the humanitarian fund that is the rent deferral humanitarian fund. That's why I was clarifying that.
Yeah, well, we have the two humanitarian funds is the problem. We should really formally separate the names somehow.
Yes. Can
The
we
yard maintenance fund would be a great one for, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and yeah.
How about the beautification fund?
Oh,
Well,
that's
Agenda item for a future meeting.
but it's
it
not
is-
about beautification. It's about wildfire prevention.
It's about cleaning up people's yards and making them look nice too. It's not just.
It is.
That's right. And that fund has been used for other things in the past, but it has been applied to if someone needs some specific cleanup work in a yard other than just the garden or something. It's been applied to other cleanup as well, just pulling debris out, stuff that tends to just decluttering. It's been used for a number of things, and I think all of those are appropriate myself.
Well, then, does anyone object to calling it the yard maintenance
That's fine.
fund? And then, so Steve Ploker, when you were giving your I think it
Report.
was the treasurer report. You said that the amount in the MVest account, I thought you said 466. Is that the account you were referring to?
Yes.
Okay, so then the name of that in your report would now not be the MVest account, but the yard maintenance account, correct?
Well, there is a yard maintenance account. This would be added to it. And we would dissolve that Invest account in the PAC account.
I see.
Invest really has its own line item accounting, so it's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
It has a
I
budget
understand.
from the city.
Yeah.
I understand.
Is there any way that we can, is there a way that we can add something to the effect that it is something that would help in fire abatement? In other words, that cleaning up the yards and beautifying is also very much helpful in preventing the houses catching on fire and whatever. So it's actually a safety factor, not necessarily a beauty factor.
Mm-hmm.
Call it yard safety. How about calling it yard safety?
Well, I think, you know, we can think about it and come up with a good name, but I think just to, not to, we don't have to cover ourselves, but just to make it clear that it's being one to help clean up yards from weeds, but when we do that, that automatically helps prevent fire from spreading. So something that would be inclusive. Anila.
Just out of curiosity, maintenance could be construed to imply, oh, good, they'll do it for me every year. I don't have to do a thing. So is there a way to
You're absolutely right. There are people who have thought
know.
that, and yeah.
And if this isn't true,
it's
we need
not.
to specify under what conditions they can get it. Is it once a year, once every 5 years?
Well, Peggy will frown at him.
Right. Well,
Oh,
Matt is very good at that. At
Yeah.
talking to people privately.
He is.
That's what he does pretty much. He's not in charge of payment or any of that type of stuff or hiring a gardener, but he will talk to the individuals, and he's right on. And then he's always very good about privacy, and we don't know the people that he talks to.
That's
So
right.
it works out that way.
Yeah, because of his special knowledge, he's very good at screening.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that the community members may not know that there are many grants available of $500 through the fire district that they can apply for. They don't have to, they can apply directly for these grants.
Yes, from the fire district. Exactly.
They go quickly, but if people are interested, they can apply for them.
There are many available.
Yeah.
And this is something that we would be adding to the wildfire mitigation announcements that we're making.
And it should be on the website because these are annual grants.
Yes, they are.
So if people are aware of it, they would apply for them.
I'd like to speak as well. I think that's a great suggestion, and I'd post it to Nextdoor as well. The
good idea.
The MVMCC, the MVMCC group on Nextdoor tends to get a lot more views than a given post on the website.
All right, any other comments before we adjourn?
Thanks, David.
Okay, I'd like to get everyone's agreement that the next PAC board meeting will be on April the 6th. It's a Tuesday, first Tuesday in April. Anyone have any problem with that date? So that'll be the next meeting, April 6th. And I'd like to call for adjournment, and thank you all.
I move we adjourn.
We
Second,
are adjourned.
bye-bye.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.